I know that you've also worked on like a spot here for F1 and for Red Bull.
Okay. Yeah.
Big F1
I was waiting for this.
Okay. This is one of those examples that I said where, like, you know, there's a certain amount of money that
Yeah.
change.
This is where I was. This is where I was leading up to, because
All right.
yeah, you know, you say there's no lockup, but yeah, definitely if you start putting enough money in front of people,
Sure.
maybe. But I'm curious, like, considering the logistics in New York and considering the stuff that you had to shoot, like, for that specific part of the New York portion, like, what were you allowed to do? Like, what were the challenges?
The challenges were actually like nothing camera creative related, taking myself out of it, like the camera cars, like none of that, like beyond us. Like there's no real limitations there. They had the money, they had the cameras, they had a bunch of people stationed, helicopter, arm car, all the stuff. GoPros on the rig, on the Formula One car.
That scares the fuck out of me. I think he sent me one of these pictures, and it's like a full camera rigged on an F1.
Yeah.
I was like, that thing is gonna fly the fuck off.
Yeah.
Just grip it good.
Get a hater.
Gaff tape. Yeah.
But the car is not the current car, and it is not the current driver. It's one of the factory driver, like he's an ex-Formula One driver,
Right, yeah.
and he's using this car that's meant for promotions and demos and things like that, because the real car is so valuable. It's invaluable because it needs to work, right? It's the same thing with the driver. So this car is like, you know, it's out in public because it's New York City. You can't lock it up. So like you pull out onto the street, wow, the thing is loud. And, you know, it's reverberating. It's not, we're not in space here. It's reverberating off the walls. The crowd gathers really quickly. The team leader from Red Bull goes, shut it down. They bring out a drape. They throw it over the car. Or they push him to the side. It's like, no, we're not doing this here. If any behind-the-scenes photos come out and it looks unsafe, then
Wow.
they shut it down.
It's more liability
So it was,
stuff.
That was the biggest problem. And, you know, there was a couple of times where it's like, we're somewhere and we're trying to do a shot and the crowd is so massive. I almost got into a fist fight that day. And the crowd is so massive that they're like, we cannot do this here. And then security on top of the police, on top of us, like pushing people like, hey, get up, get the fuck out of here, you know? And then eventually, like, it calmed down enough where we pushed the Formula One car into a spot where, like, it doesn't look like it's too close to people, and then we can go do the shot. It was so difficult to keep people away because it's so loud, it's so brash, it's so fun. Like, imagine you're a fucking tourist in New York City. There's a fucking Formula One car in the streets doing burnouts and shit. It's like awesome.
Yeah.
You guys went through one of the tunnels too, right?
We did. Did we do tunnels? No, we did bridges.
The bridges.
Bridges,
Yeah.
okay.
I think that was another video. That was something else they did.
Okay.
They rigged it.
Yeah, we were doing 100 on the 100 on the FDR.
You were doing 100 chasing the car?
What?
Yeah, and they're like, hey, just pull up alongside him. I was like, I'm sorry. Do you know the difference between these two things? I got 6 dudes in this car. 6 dudes in this car. And this is when we had the Ford. So it's 6 dudes in a fucking Ford. And we are hoofing it. And I think it was like 3 or 4 days beforehand. It was super cold. And I felt like the suspension was like gonna go, and my shocks blew, and they didn't blow completely. Like I wasn't like loosey, but like we were floating, and it was like the shocks were way softer. And I think so we're out there just floating around, and I'm like, I can't feel where my tires are. We're going as fast as I've ever fucking gone in New York City.
Yeah.
And that was one of those days where they were like, you know, you go to see the cops that you see on all the jobs, and he goes like, hey, there's no speed limits today. And I'm like,
Like from I'm gonna say production standpoint. I don't know the actual what I'm asking. What is the benefit of actually go? Like I feel like through the camera going 50 has to look very similar to going 100, right?
Yeah,
like is the shot
okay. So
that much more dynamic?
There's a technical thing. That car can't go slower than 60 for too long because it needs the airflow to cool it. Okay. Yes. So if you're
you going 60 in a Ford Edge is much different than you going 100 in a Ford. Like why couldn't they slow down a little bit for like? Is it really just the dynamic angle?
So as the space gets bigger, right? Like, okay, so now we're on the FDR alone. So now you have multiple lanes, depending on which part of the FDR you're on. Yeah. And then there's the water out that way. And then the buildings are offset.
Right.
Right? It's like, well, you're kind of far from everything. So you need to go a little bit faster. So the relative speed, if he's going 65 and I'm going 65, is 0. Right, we're going the same speed, and if you need him to go away, or you need us to come up on him and like kind of then look profile and get the things whipping. It's like
Yeah.
we're already shooting at a fast shutter, so everything's kind of sharp. It's like, what's the answer? Is go fast.
Okay.
That is not the answer most of the time. Most of the time, I agree with you. Like we could do it at 30, we could do it
Yeah.
at 40, and it's going to look awesome.
But it's just that very specific scenario.
And oftentimes you're going like, you know, you're doing something in the car and they go, oh my God, we were flying. And it goes like, we're going 35 miles an hour. It's just we were doing it. We're just doing it so close to somebody else. And like if you're looking if you're looking in a monitor and you're like 85 mil and I'm like, you know, a lane away on a wheel and then I tap the brakes and the camera comes back, you go, oh my God, we moved in relation to them. It's just like that lens is so long, but you do it on a wider lens, they don't think it's that fast. So it really depends on what you're looking at. I've had a director in the car go, whoa, 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 and like scream, like, and I was like, oh shit. I had to like, what didn't I see? And I go, what? And he goes, you're too close. I go, this is like 8 feet. And he goes, well, it looked close. I go, you asked for it to be close. I'm getting it close. But he was in the monitor and we were on a long lens and they wanted the badge to fill the frame. So how do you get the badge of a car during car?
Fucking close.
You get close, yeah. But he was like, in his mind, the rate he doesn't know what I'm doing. He's not looking ahead. I'm looking ahead. So your job is to stay quiet and get, like closer, further, higher, lower, you know? Maybe like tighter, wider. Those are the kind of directions that I need. Not like whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, you know, unless it's
That's very specific. That's a good direction.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So,
Well,
I mean, I say that, but I'm also partially kidding. If you know what the fuck you're doing, like, you know, tell me what you want. But we typically don't scream whoa, whoa, whoa every time the grips pick something up because we're like, whoa, it's gonna tip over. It's like, no, it's a dolly party. It's a dolly party. We're gonna just move it because it's heavy and there's 4 of us. Thanks.
well, I'm not surprised your suspension blew out on the FDR. Like,
It's just.
I mean, I couldn't even imagine going 100 on that road.
That
just
thing is so
without the
sketch.
6 dudes in the car.
There's this one yump in the middle of it.
Oh.
And it's coming at a speed where, you know, because it's big and it's empty. It's like, I can kind of see it. And I've hit it at, you know, regular driving speeds before. And this time, especially with the suspension being a little extra soft that day, I hit that and I was like, man, we're going to be flying. We're going to be in the air. Like, it just felt so bad. And it sounded like a gunshot in the car. And I was like, God, that's not good for this car.
Yeah.
And it was fine. It's fine because I replaced that suspension 2 weeks later anyway when we got the parts in. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But, you know.
You're just constantly going through like consumable car parts. Like you're just constantly changing.
Suspension blows out. Like now on the fancy cars, you know, with air suspension, you know, if your air blows on a Mercedes GLC or the Porsche Cayenne, it's like you're looking at like probably like 10 grand for the fronts. If you're going to do all the bags, like maybe like 20 grand.
Jesus.
So, you know, you got to take care of it. You can't be like, I'm not going to drive it into set because those miles are just like, you're not paying for them. You're really not. Like they're not paying for what it's worth. It's a $180,000 car. We're beating the shit out of it. It's a 1,500-pound crane on top. 4, 5, 6 dudes in there. We're banging off it. Like I have to drive where you tell me to drive. So I'll have mechanical sympathy and I'll try and avoid some potholes or bumps, or whatever. But I'm smashing stuff because the camera needs to be here. Yeah. Well, this car is going to slide through this intersection, and here's a near miss, and then he's going to go up over. It's like, all right, well, if there's a pothole and I want to avoid it, tough shit. I'm hitting it. And eventually, you know, these cars, they break.
Is that worked into like contracts with production, or is
well,
that
I mean, listen,
entirely
if we break,
independent?
it's like anything else. You smash a filter on set because you dropped it. It's like, okay, well, replace the filter. It's just the filter's $300, and you know, suspension's 10 grand. It's like, but that's if you're doing stunts, that's what happens. These things happen, right? You know, you need to drive fast or hard over rough terrain, and accidents happen. They're not really accidents. They really aren't accidents, but like shit happens. Things break. Unless it's like I drove it off of my trailer and smashed it, which would never happen. It's like, then yeah, you're paying for it. Or your insurance company's paying for it.
Right.
That's the misconception. It's like, well, what if something breaks? It's like,
but that's part of not driving it to set. Like we know what happened on set because this was on a trailer before it got here, and it was fine.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, if something does happen, how are you getting home?
Right. Now you're trailer.
Yeah. there are
like-
situations where we'll like, you know, like we'll like pipe out our truck and we'll do like little budget gigs that way, and we'll throw over the gear in the back of the truck and we'll, you know, shoot some stuff around town. It's like, yeah, because you're a small production, you have like 2 vans to your whole production. I'm not going to eat up, you know, all of these resources with this giant arm cart that you can't afford. So it's like, well, we have a solution for you if you are a small little thing. And really all it's doing is like streamlining the grips and the camera people coming together to put a Ronin on a thing on the back of a van or a truck, or doing some shitty rig stuff where the guy's hanging out the back with the Movi. It's like, it's a great way to, if you're worried about insurance and replacing things, replacing the human is incredibly difficult. So don't put the humans at risk. And then, you know.
Yeah.
Pop this beer.
Sheepishly, like you should have done it like you wanted it.
I don't know, be a little respectful to the
good
audio guy.
punctuation.
Yeah, it's a good button.